Laura, what's happening in the back? You okay? You got a blanket?
Would you like it on your knees? Oops. Oh, there it is.
Right, so you forgot about your mother, right? You were supposed to check whether or not she actually successfully got on the bus and didn't have any problems, and you forgot.
Well, I looked at the time and it was 12:40, and I thought even if she waited for the next bus, she'd already be on it because it went back 12:35. So I thought there wasn't really a point of in checking.
Keyword if. So is that you being mindful?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes,
Or is that you being considerate?
Well,
Isn't that being mindful and inconsiderate? Mindful of the problem, but forgetting to check.
I was at home and I was looking at the on time, and this is what I was thinking. I was thinking, my mom's already gone. Either on the next bus, or she'd hop on the train. But you were probably right, she always leaves at the same time on Sunday, so...
You're going through the mental process right now of convincing yourself that everything is okay. You realise that?
Yes.
When you absolutely don't know, but you're like, oh, it'll be fine because of weird abstract things that are not really related.
My mom's a big girl and she can take care of herself.
Never mind. Mindful language. It's odd, I seem to be noticing the autumn colours more this year than previous years. What is that?
Also, it's usually the stress season for you. So I'm not surprised that you usually don't notice the autumn colours. It's just so
Am I
stressed
more
out.
stressed in autumn than at other times of the year?
Yes.
And how does the stress manifest itself?
Your temper is more easily tempered.
No, that would be a good thing. If I tempered my temper.
Okay, untempered then. Your temper is more...
Sorry?
You're more tense, you're more moody, you are more I don't know how to say this. More often I see you frown and thinking for yourself inside. You know, being lost in your own thinking. And you...
Lost in my own thinking.
Yes. Well, probably not lost.
Pretty much describes me most of the time.
You're probably not lost. You probably know exactly where you are in your own thinking, right? You're focusing on something inside rather than being present.
Is that a logical statement? You probably know exactly where you are. Is that a logical statement?
Yeah.
Because if you're exact, then it's not probable, is it? Or is
No,
are
that
they
probably
different
that
parts?
probably applies to my perception of it. I'm not sure whether you know exactly where you are, but I probably think 90% that you know exactly where you are, and the exactly applies to you and you knowing exactly where you are. Do you understand? Probably is mine and exactly is yours.
Okay. It's an ownership thing. Okay.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking because I'm lost in my thinking when I start wondering. Okay, sometimes I get lost.
Wondering.
Yes, but
Wonder is not a bad thing.
as I know you are more organized. So when you think, you probably know where you are and what you do while thinking, rather than just get lost.
I don't know. That's deep.
Follow logical order.
It's the wanderlust of thought concept. Now, where are you going, you nutter? Okay. Well, that's the wanderlust of thought is an examination of logic in my own mind. That's all it is.
Well, that's what I mean, you see. You know what you're doing.
It's an examination
When
of
you
does this thinking make sense or not?
Mm-hmm.
Because then I'm able to play it back and go, yes, that's right, or something doesn't fit there. I mean, how many people record their own thoughts and analyze them? I guess not many, unless you're in therapy, of course.
I don't know. Anyway, the point was that this autumn you seem slightly more relaxed. No, I mean you've been very tense in September, and obviously you've been very tense at the beginning of October.
I just feel tense all the time.
And
It's just varying degrees of tenseness.
as the October comes to an end, and November comes to an end, and Christmas approaches, very, very slowly start to untense yourself.
Really? I thought Christmas was a time of panic for most people.
Yes, but there are two types of tenseness in you. You've got the tenseness of having too much work and having to go to work and organize a lot of things, which is an extreme stress. And then you've got the tenseness of having free time but not having any money, which is a different type of stress. And that's the stress you've got during the winter and the summer. But I think the first stress of not having any time is worse for your mental state than the second type of stress.
It might be worth analysing different kinds of stress.
Because you seem to be able to handle the financial strain, but having enough time better than the not having enough time and having to do all the things at the same time.
One of those is under my control, and the other's not. The money's external, the time is internal.
Or maybe
Time's just personal management.
maybe that's why it stresses you more, because you feel the responsibility for that.
Well, you could argue that.
And because there's not really anything you can do about the financial strain at that time or at that point in time when it manifests itself, then you just accept it. I don't know. I'm not saying that you don't do things to be better in the future, obviously, but I'm talking about solving the situation at that exact point in time, if you know what I mean. I mean, obviously, you always work for it to be better in the future.
Is it just me, or I don't know how to express this. myself preparing to say things before somebody has finished their sentence or their thought. Which
It's not just you.
either means A, I'm not listening to the end of their thought. B, I know what they're going to say and it doesn't really matter. Or is there a C?
So that's why you tell me that I'm not in the conversation, or that I'm not really talking to you, because I do this during the conversation, and sometimes I say things that are irrelevant because between the time I started to think about my response and the time I finished the sentence, something happened there, and my response doesn't make sense anymore. So I do it as well.
So you reckon that a lot of people do it as a
Yes.
result of that? I do. I find myself that somebody will say something and it sparks something in my mind, and I start thinking about what I'm going to say, and I sort of feel myself half switching off towards the end of their statement.
Yeah.
It's a bit odd. Like you were talking about stress, and that suddenly reminded me of what one of my students said this week, which was I asked them what's new in their family, and they said, "Oh, my mother's in the hospital again." Oh, what's the problem? Stress. Second time. She's in the hospital because of stress.
Half the people dying are dying because of stress. What do you think cancer's related to? What do you think?
Oh, I get that. It's the word disease, dis-ease, not relaxed. I get that. The body's not in balance.
Body's people don't realize how much it does. People know that stress is bad for you, but they don't realize how bad. I mean, men, typical men thing is like pancreatic inflammation, pancreatic cancer. It's just a stress disease and stress death.
It seems to me that everything is just a form of stress and pressure.
I've read
There's a positive and negative side to it.
I've read interesting articles about emotional state of mind or setup and how that relates to different diseases. I don't know if that was bullshit or if there was any truth in it, but it was just an interesting idea to entertain. Okay, that women diseases can be linked to their emotional setup.
Software?
Like I don't know. Example was breast cancer. Okay, a woman with breast cancer when emotional, she is too over caring about everything. She doesn't easily let go.
I think there's also
And that's just an example. But what I took from it is that whatever you overdo, however you put yourself in a stressing situation, you're harming yourself.
But ending up in a hospital as a result of stress.
Also, people don't understand that the stress is inside of themselves. Nobody can put you under stress.
Well, I imagine that going to hospital is not going to help you if you're suffering from stress. I mean, you're going to be surrounded by people in panic, people dying, people looking worse than yourself.
And they won't be feeding you properly, and
they'll be sticking needles into you. Your family will be worried about you.
You'll be hungry, and you'll be thinking, what's happening at home? And oh my god.
You'll be more worried about work because you're not actually in work.
They should just wrap you up and post you somewhere in the Caribbean on a beach.
there's nothing but spas in this country. Why don't you go to a spa? What you do in a hospital?
Yeah,
All you do is go to your doctor and say, "Doctor, I need to go to a spa," especially if you've got money.
Yeah.
They just send you off.
I don't see how
Nothing
people.
but
I
massage and
don't see how
therapy and
people who have money can have stress. Actually, I don't think it's possible.
Oh, it's the conflict of health and wealth, which is that. Remember when I was teaching that student in the summer who works for the European schools with all the rich kids?
Yeah. You're not teaching me.
Well, he's in Germany.
Oh, right. That's right.
Or Strasbourg or
Okay.
somewhere out there. He says he's coming back. He wants to meet up, so that's nice. Anyway, the point was that we were discussing schools and curriculums and things, and my philosophy is that there's...
Curriculums.
Is that the plural?
Curricula.
Yeah. The point is that he wanted some. He didn't want arguments. He needed arguments to support more physical education for the students. And I said the first rule of wealth
It's health.
is health. That's the first rule. Because if you're not healthy, you can't work on the things you need to work on to get wealthy. And the second thing is, what is the point if you build up wealth only to have to spend it on health?
Yes.
Because you're sick from all the negative effects that come from the stress of building up
He
a
shouldn't
lot of
even
money.
have to argue about why we should be healthy. I mean, what a stupid question is that? Why should I take care of my health? Because you only have one
Well,
flipping
it's not.
body.
It's not. That's not the argument, though. The argument is the. What's the argument? I lost it in my head. The first rule of wealth is health, because if you're wealthy and not healthy, you spend everything that you've made on trying to get healthy, which is you might as well not have made anything, right? So it's just pointless. It's a pointless exercise. It's a pointless exercise making money and then spending the money on trying to be healthy.
Look at the ancient Greeks. If you want an argument for more physical education, look at the ancient Greeks. The ancient Greeks. Remember, you're right. Feeling sick? We'll be stopping in 5 minutes.
Not about 60 seconds.
Yeah, 60 seconds.
Well, relax.
The ancient...
That's a useless piece of advice.
It is. The ancient Greeks put emphasis on physical fitness and health, and how it has to be in balance with your mental abilities and the education. It was as important as everything else. And they called it Kalokagati, the harmony of the body and the soul.
Yeah, well, I imagine that was for the rich people. I imagine the slaves didn't get much of that. Just rich people arguing that they shouldn't have to do anything.
Well, that's what young people should realize, that if they don't work out physically, they won't be able to work out mentally as efficiently.
What about oxygen? It's pumping the oxygen around the body. Exercise.
It helps you unwind, it helps you get the perspective on things.
You find very few people who are not extremely physically healthy who are not intelligent. Does that make sense to you?
It It makes sense to me, but I'm
Well,
not sure if you can agree with that.
Okay, you don't find people who are, extremely physically healthy
And stupid.
and worried about their diet and taking care of themselves. You don't, because
That's true. That's true. I suppose. I mean, you can get people. You can get people who are strong and fit and stupid, but they'd probably go for steroids and that type of shit.
Well, then they're not fit, are they?
Because they're trying to get.
By definition, they're not fit.
They're trying to get muscular for all wrong reasons.
They're trying to cheat, aren't they? I'm going to build up my muscles by cheating. Is it cheating? I suppose it's cheating.
You need to cheat your own body.
We stopped at 303.
303 seconds, Daddy. You lied.
Did you count all the way up to 303?
He can count all the way up to whatever. Actually,
Ridiculous. Did you say wherever?
yeah.
You can count all the way up to wherever.
Actually, when we went to the streets,
If I said to someone, "Can you count up to wherever?" they'd look at me like, "What? What?"
No, listen, I'll explain it to you. We were on a train when we went from Niemiecka to Bystrica, and he counted all the way up to Bystrica. To about 647.
Okay, I've never noticed that ridiculous standing stone that's there.
No?
It is ridiculous.
It's not really a standing stone, though. It's more of a socialistic sculpture type thing. Made out of concrete.
Well, obviously it's not been there for thousands of years.
Unless they had concrete thousands of years ago.
Do you think that's what things like Stonehenge could have been? Like, it was
Just
like
blocks of concrete.
just weird communist architecture from like 5,000 years ago.
Oh, I have
From
to get
Russia.
out of the car.
Okay,
Let's get out of the car.
let's get out of the car.
I'm not very well.
Okay, then.
Okay, here we go.